Hi, Aaron Stockhausen here, PCGI multi-pitch guide and owner of Stone Adventures, rock climbing guide service in Joshua Tree. Today I want to talk to you about top rope anchor building, specifically using extended anchoring systems, which means using a short piece of static rope to allow for a very large anchor system that we can get way over the edge of the cliff. You can see here I've got 1, 2, and 3 attachment points. Today they're bolts, but they could be cams or nuts or whatever you're using to do your anchor building. But you'll notice these two are pretty far away from the third one over here. So our standard length cordelette or a 4-foot sling is not going to be possible to equalize all these pieces. Okay, so that's where our short piece of static rope comes in. I've got this red piece of static rope. It's about 80 feet long, and that allows for a lot of options. I can have my pieces spread very far apart and also very far back away from the edge of the cliff. And I can still use this 80-foot static rope to bring everything together, make an awesome top rope anchor. Cool. So what I like to do personally is take 2 pieces that are kind of close together, and I'm going to equalize those with a quad. Okay? So I've got a quad already tied here. Here's my quad anchor. I'm going to clip here, clip here. And remember, when you clip a quad, you do not want to clip all 4 pieces because we need to be inside the quad pocket. So I've clipped 2 strands. You could clip 3 strands. That's fine. So now our locking carabiner here is inside the quad pocket. So I've successfully equalized these 2 guys here, and I also have used the quad, which is a self-equalizing anchor. Okay, but it's also an ERNEST anchor because the shock load or extension potential is so small that we kind of say it's okay. This is a SERENE or an ERNEST anchor, but also self-equalizing. So the quad is really cool for that. Okay, I'm going to grab my static rope, and I'm going to go over to my 3rd piece on the other side. And I'm going to just tie double figure 8 on a bite. Right there, then clip her on. Okay, now I've got my static rope here. It's plenty long for this. This is a somewhat small anchor. But I'm going to come over here, tie another figure 8 on a bite. There we go. Clip it onto here. Lock this carabiner back. Now, this strand of rope is connected to all 3 of our attachment points. So what I can do here is make a measurement. I could have my master point right here. I could have it down here. I could bring it up here. I could move it over this way, over to the right. Now I can make my measurement and tie a BHK knot. So I'm going to put my master point right in the middle. I'm going to measure it right there. Okay. Now I have 2 pieces of rope coming down. I'm going to fold that. Okay, essentially taking a bite on a bite. And I'm going to tie my BHK knot, either BHK overhand or BHK figure 8, right here. I think I'll do an overhand this time. Cinch everything up. Okay, now my master point is right here. I'm going to take my top rope carabiners and I'm going to clip them on here, opposite and opposed. I like to use steel locking ovals, 2 of them, opposite and opposed. Steel carabiners last a lot longer and are better for your rope. And they're super cheap. You can get these for like $4 a piece at Liberty Mountain. So there you go. I can put my climbing rope right here into the master point carabiners, and I've got a nice equalized and ERNEST anchor. And one leg of the anchor is coming over to 1 piece. This leg is coming over to a quad, which is attached to 2 pieces. Okay. A lot of people worry about this extra tail I don't think it's such a big deal, but there's a few things that you can do if you're worried about this tail sort of untying itself. If it was a little bit longer, I could tie sort of a backup knot off on one leg or the other. Okay, it's a little short for that. I could pass it through itself, sort of like a girth hitch. Now this guy will cinch down. I won't be able to slip through. Or I could take another carabiner, clip here, and clip a carabiner to the leg, either leg. And that will, any of those methods will prevent the this rope from untying it. Although it's pretty unlikely that that's ever going to happen. I'll just go ahead and kind of girth hitch it through itself. Great. I'm ready to put my climbing rope here, and I've got a beautiful top rope set up. So the key point to making a good top rope anchor is that you equalize, of course, all of your pieces properly, but that you get the master point over the edge of the cliff. If you're building your anchor on the top of the cliff, your anchor and your master point needs to wrap around the edge of the cliff. So that way your climbing rope will be free flowing through these master point carabiners. Too many times we see people building a tiny little anchor out of cordelettes up on the top of the cliff, and the climbing rope is running around the edge of the cliff. And that's really bad for the rope. It makes it really hard to belay. It's just poor anchor building. Our extended anchoring system allows us a lot of extra rope, okay, so that we can get our master point over the edge, and we can use pieces or anchor points that are spread far apart or that are far away from the edge of the cliff, and we can still make it work beautifully. And in fact, if you're clever about tying your master point, you can get it pinpointed anywhere you want it. You can have your master point within 3 or 4 inches of exactly where you want it to be. That can help keep it from falling into a crack or a lot of other things. This is the best way to build a top rope anchor. Okay, let's build essentially that exact same anchor, but without using our cordelette, with our quad cordelette. So that would subtract a 20-foot cordelette and a locking carabiner subtracted from our system. We're going to do this with the static rope only. So what I'm going to do in this case is, again, I'm going to start on the side with 2 anchor points sort of near each other, and I'm going to equalize those with a Super 8. Okay, Super 8 on a bite. So they're a little bit far apart, so I'm going to use a nice long bite of rope. This bite of rope's about almost 4 or 5 feet long, I'd say. And I'm going to tie my Super 8 right here, so that I use so much rope so that each of the legs on the Super 8, or each of the loops, will be nice and long. Okay. If you don't know how to tie the Super 8, please watch our other video on that, which I'll link to in the comments below. Excuse me, the description below. Here's the Super 8. There's one piece of rope in the Super 8 that runs to each of our anchor points, and that's this little loop here. So I can use that to pull it this way or to pull it over this way. So this is where I can make my measurement. So I want the master point to be right about here. So hopefully I've guessed this correctly. The tricky part with equalizing with the Super 8 is that it's a pre-equalized. We had to guess our direction perfectly. If we're a little bit off, we're going to lose proper equalization, which is why I personally like to add the quad in here so that it has a little bit of self-equalization. But that's okay. This is a more minimal setup. Pull out some extra rope. Come over to our 3rd anchor point, and I'll just do another figure 8 on a bite, just like before. And now I'm ready to equalize all 3 pieces with my extended anchoring system. Let's say I want the master point right here. Okay, I'm going to tie that BHK knot again, make my measurement here, pull down, take a bite on a bite. Now I've got a lot of rope this time. I think I'll go with the figure 8 BHK. Shorten everything up. Get everything cinched good. And there we go. Okay, so last but not least, I want to talk about how to keep yourself safe while you're doing all this. Okay? Right now we're in the lab on flat ground, on crash pads with the climbing wall. It's pretty safe. I don't need to be clipped in. But in reality, you're going to be doing this at the top of a cliff. And it's hard to make all these measurements, particularly where you tie your master point. A lot of times you have to approach the edge of the cliff, or even sometimes come around the edge of the cliff in order to make a good measurement. And that can be pretty scary and or dangerous if you're not clipped into anything. So there's a way that we can up the safety level a lot. And there's a couple ways to do that. My preferred method is the gree-gree. The gree-gree is the best climbing tool of all time. Okay? So what I've got here is 2 anchor points here equalized with the Super 8, and one of them over here, obviously not equalized because it's only a single point, but it's on a figure 8 on a bite. Okay? So what I'm going to do is pick the strong side. The strong side is over here with 2 pieces. This is kind of a mini anchor. Alright? So I'm going to take my gree-gree, attach in. Okay? If we're looking at the pictures, climber is going to be the Super 8. Brake hand is going to be the extra rope. Okay? Now I can clip myself in with my harness. And now I'm essentially on rappel on my gree-gree, which is an assisted braking device. It's very handy. And I'm on rappel on a little mini anchor over here on 2 points. This way I can approach the edge of the cliff and do all my work, make my measurement, tie my master point, and be pretty safe, clipped in. Okay? The rope going through the gree-gree does mess up your measurement at the master point a little bit, so you have to kind of account for that. And it's a little bit hard the first few times till you get the hang of it. So let me show you one other way besides the gree-gree. Gree-gree is my preferred method because it lets you rappel down around the edge of the cliff. Another way would be with what a lot of people call a prusik loop and a locking carabiner. I've got a specific hollow block, which is a nice strong one with a good coefficient of friction that really grabs the rope. Again, I'm going to go on the strong side and tie some sort of a friction hitch here. You could do the prusik. A lot of people like the prusik. You could do the Klemheist, but the Klemheist is more unidirectional. I'm going to do the auto block. It's super fast, super easy, and it's bi-directional, so that's cool. So I got my locking carabiner on my belay loop. I'm just going to clip. Oop, sorry about that. I'm going to clip it in, the hollow block in. I'm going to get that the bar tack down by the carabiner so it doesn't mess me up while I'm tying my auto block hitch. I'm just going to wrap it around a whole bunch of times, basically as many times as it takes to have this tail here measured out well to clip in. Lock that carabiner back. And now I can kind of go up and down, and this friction hitch will grab the rope, of course on the strong side. I don't want to be doing this on the other side on a single point. I want to be using the strong side on 2 points. And I can sort of come down next to the edge of the cliff, make my master point measurement. This is using a little bit less gear. Gree-grees are expensive if you don't have one. But also the rope runs straight through the auto block hitch, as opposed to the gree-gree where it uses up a few inches of rope. So that can sometimes make it easier to make your measurement to tie your master point knot. Cool. 2 great ways to keep yourself safe while approaching the edge of the cliff to measure and tie your master point knot. Thank you very much for watching our video on top rope anchor building using extended anchoring systems and a static rope. With this setup, I have been able to put a top rope on any climb I've ever tried to rig, even when there's little or no protection at the top of the cliff. If you get creative with this system and this amount of gear, you can get a top rope anywhere, and it'll be a fabulous top rope anchor where the rope will slide nicely through the Master Point carabiners. It's a tip-top anchor, a guide quality anchor, and all of your friends are going to be jealous of your rigging skills. If this video helps you out, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're going to be doing weekly video updates. Again, this is Aron, PCGI multi-pitch guide and owner of Stone Adventures, climbing guides in Joshua Tree. Thanks for watching.